Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me today with an open heart, because what I'm about to share could change your life forever. There is a secret power, a power that most people never tap into. It's not found in talent. It's not found in education. It's not found in wealth. No, this power is hidden in one simple truth: total obedience to God. You see, obedience is not just doing what is convenient. Obedience is not following when it suits you or when you feel like it. Obedience is following God's instructions even when it doesn't make sense, even when the path seems unclear, even when it costs you something. That is where power is released. Every breakthrough in the Bible, every miracle, every divine provision started with obedience. Abraham left the land he knew. Moses followed the voice of God into the wilderness, and David obeyed when giants stood in his way. Obedience unlocks God's plan in ways that thinking, planning, or strategizing never will. But here's the thing: total obedience requires trust. It requires letting go of your own understanding, your own timing, your own comfort. You must believe that God sees what you cannot see, that He knows what you cannot know, and that His plan for your life is greater than your fears. When you obey fully, doors will open that no one can shut. Mountains will move that no human strength can move. Favor will follow you that no amount of effort can buy. That is the secret power of total obedience. I want you to hear this. God is calling you to a higher level today. Stop negotiating with Him. Stop thinking you know better. Stop saying, I'll obey if it's easy. Total obedience may challenge you, but it will transform you. It will elevate you. It will position you for the destiny He has prepared for you. So today, choose to obey fully. Walk in faith, not in sight. Speak the word, do the work, trust the process. The moment you surrender every part of your life to God, that secret power will rise in you, and nothing, absolutely nothing, will be able to stop what God is doing in your life. Obedience is the key. Obedience is the power. Obedience is the secret weapon that will turn your life around. Will you unlock it today? Will you choose to obey no matter the cost? Because when you do, your life will never be the same again. Obedience is the gateway to God's supernatural power. This is a truth that many people overlook because they focus on effort, strategy, or talent. But the reality is that nothing in the natural realm can compare to the power released when you simply obey God. Obedience is not a suggestion. It is the key that unlocks every blessing, every opportunity, and every miracle that God has prepared for you. When you choose to follow His instructions, even when you don't fully understand the reason, you step into a realm where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. It is the act of obedience that transforms promises into realities. The problem is that many people stop short of true obedience because they want to negotiate with God. They want to follow Him only when it's convenient, only when it feels safe, or only when the outcome seems certain. But God is not looking for convenience. He is looking for surrender. He is looking for hearts willing to move when His voice speaks, even if it leads into uncertainty. Every step of obedience, no matter how small, positions you to receive the power that cannot be earned or manufactured. Obedience releases God's power in ways that human effort never can. Think about the stories of the Bible. A shepherd boy defeats a giant, a man parts a sea, and a captive nation is delivered, all because someone chose to obey. The supernatural realm responds to obedience. Doors open that were locked, chains break that were heavy, and blessings flow in ways that defy logic. This kind of obedience requires humility and trust. You must let go of your desire to control, your need to plan, and your fear of the unknown. When you obey, you are saying to God, I trust you more than I trust myself. I believe your power is greater than my circumstances. And the moment you make that choice, the invisible becomes visible. Power is released in your life, not because of what you can do, but because of what God can do through you. Obedience is not passive, it is active. It is a deliberate decision to follow God's instruction without hesitation. It is the bridge between promise and fulfillment, between natural limitations and supernatural breakthroughs, between what is and what can be when God's power moves freely through a willing heart. Total obedience requires trust beyond understanding. This is not a superficial trust that only exists when life is easy or circumstances are clear. True trust demands that you step forward even when the path is invisible, when the outcome seems uncertain, and when fear is pressing in from every direction. God calls us to a trust that defies logic, a trust that says, I may not see the whole picture, but I know the one who does. It is in that kind of trust that obedience becomes powerful, that our steps align with destiny, and that God's supernatural intervention begins to move. Many people struggle because they want to understand before they act. They want to see the entire road ahead, analyze every possibility, and ensure that their actions are safe. But God's ways are higher than our ways, and His plans often demand a leap of faith. Trust beyond understanding means taking action, even when your mind protests, even when your emotions are uncertain, and even when the world tells you to wait or turn back. It is in these moments of surrender that God proves Himself faithful, showing that His timing, His provision, and His wisdom are always greater than our fears. This kind of trust requires humility. It is a recognition that you do not have all the answers and that you cannot navigate life on your own. It is saying, I choose to follow your lead, even if it challenges my understanding, even if it stretches my comfort zone, even if it feels impossible. The act of obedience is inseparable from trust, because without trust, obedience becomes burdensome. It becomes legalistic, mechanical, and powerless. But when obedience flows from a heart that trusts, it releases a momentum that cannot be stopped. Trust beyond understanding is also about consistency. It is about choosing to obey God daily, moment by moment, even when nothing seems to change. It is about continuing to act in faith, believing that God is orchestrating events behind the scenes, even when the results are not yet visible. Every step taken in trust positions you to experience the fullness of God's plan. Your faith becomes the channel through which His power moves, and your obedience becomes the catalyst for breakthroughs that your mind could never have planned or predicted. God's plans are revealed through surrendered action. There is a difference between knowing God's will in your mind and experiencing it in your life. Knowledge without action is like a seed that falls on hard ground. It cannot grow. It cannot produce. It cannot fulfill its purpose. God wants you to move, to act, to step into what He has called you to do, even before the full picture is revealed. Surrendered action is not about waiting until everything makes sense or until every circumstance aligns perfectly. It is about responding to God's instruction with courage, faith, and urgency. The moment you take action in obedience, even when it feels uncomfortable, you open the door for God to move in ways that are beyond human comprehension. Every biblical hero experienced this principle. Abraham left his home without knowing the final destination. Joseph trusted God even in slavery and imprisonment. And the disciples stepped out of their boats into stormy waters because they followed God's call. Their surrendered actions became the pathways through which God's plans were revealed and His power demonstrated. Surrendered action requires letting go of control. It requires saying to God, I will do what you ask, even if I don't understand why. Many people hold back because they want to protect themselves, avoid risk, or maintain comfort. But God's plans are never unlocked through hesitation, doubt, or partial obedience. They are revealed when you move in faith, when you act according to His voice, and when you trust that He is leading you into a future filled with purpose and blessing. This principle also teaches patience in motion. Acting in obedience does not always produce immediate results, but it aligns you with the rhythm of God's timing. Each step you take in faith is like a key turning in a lock, releasing opportunities, favor, and breakthroughs that cannot be forced or fabricated. Surrendered action bridges the gap between the promises you have heard and the reality you will experience. It transforms potential into reality, dreams into fulfillment, and obedience into tangible evidence of God's power working on your behalf. Every decision to act in faith, even when the outcome is unknown, is a decision to align with God's greater purpose. It demonstrates that your heart is surrendered, your spirit is yielded, and your life is positioned for the manifestation of His divine plan. Action without hesitation, fueled by trust, becomes the vehicle through which God's plan unfolds in ways that amaze, empower, and elevate you beyond what you could imagine in your own strength. Obedience positions you for breakthroughs and favor. This is one of the most powerful truths you will ever encounter. When you choose to obey God fully, you step into a current of divine influence that cannot be earned through human effort. Favor is not something that comes from cleverness, connections, or hard work alone. Favor is released when your heart is aligned with God's will and your life reflects a willingness to follow His instructions without hesitation. Every breakthrough in your life begins with a single step of obedience, even if it feels small, even if it seems insignificant, even if it is inconvenient. Many people delay their breakthrough because they wait for perfect conditions or for clarity that may never come without action. God's timing is often revealed through obedience, and His favor flows when you are willing to act before the world can see the logic in it. The Bible is full of examples of people who experienced sudden shifts because they chose obedience over hesitation. Esther stepped forward before her time and saved a nation. Daniel continued praying despite the threat of the lion's den. And Peter stepped out of the boat onto stormy waters simply because Jesus commanded him to. Their breakthroughs were directly connected to their willingness to obey without holding back. Obedience positions you in the right place at the right time. Favor often shows up in unexpected ways. Doors open Relationships align, opportunities appear, but it always follows the path of surrendered action. You cannot control it, predict it, or manufacture it, but you can position yourself to receive it by saying yes to God and walking in faith. Every step of obedience increases your capacity to carry God's blessing and unlocks possibilities that were previously inaccessible. Favor also comes with alignment. When you obey, you align with God's purpose, His timing, and His plan. Misalignment blocks favor, but obedience invites it. Every instruction you follow, every principle you honor, every decision you make in agreement with God creates momentum in your life. This momentum attracts supernatural assistance, divine connections, and opportunities that seem to come out of nowhere. The power of obedience is that it positions you not only for temporary gains, but for life-changing breakthroughs and lasting favor that redefine your future. Partial obedience produces partial results. Full obedience produces full blessings. This is a principle that many people struggle to accept because they underestimate the importance of commitment. Doing just enough, following God only when it's convenient, or obeying only in ways that benefit, you will never unlock the fullness of His plan. God is looking for hearts that are fully surrendered, lives that are fully yielded, and actions that reflect a total willingness to follow His direction without holding back. Partial obedience keeps you in the ordinary, but full obedience propels you into the extraordinary. When you obey only partially, you limit the flow of God's power in your life. Think about it, God's promises are complete, but our half-hearted responses often prevent them from being fully realized. It is like having a key to a treasure chest, but only turning it halfway. The chest remains locked, the treasure inaccessible. Full obedience, however, is like turning the key completely, opening the door to blessings that surpass your imagination, favor that cannot be explained, and provision that goes beyond human effort. This principle also requires honesty with yourself. It is easy to convince yourself that small, selective obedience is enough, that partial compliance will satisfy God, or that someday you will fully commit. But God's standard is total surrender, not compromise. Every instruction, every calling, every divine direction requires your full attention, full heart, and full action. Anything less produces results that are limited and temporary. Full obedience produces results that are enduring, transformative, and powerful enough to shift your entire destiny. Full obedience requires courage because it demands that you let go of control, personal preference, and the safety of the familiar. It asks that you follow when it is uncomfortable, act when it is inconvenient, and step forward when fear tells you to stay put. Yet the reward is proportional to the risk. The greater the obedience, the greater the blessing. Every story of faith in Scripture shows this principle in action. Those who obeyed fully experienced God's miraculous intervention, His abundant provision, and His unshakable favor, while those who obeyed partially faced stagnation, delay, and missed opportunities. Full obedience is not about perfection. It is about commitment. It is about saying, I will follow all of you, every instruction, every moment, every call, and allowing God to release His power without limitation through your surrendered life. Your destiny is unlocked the moment you say, yes, completely. There is a power that lies dormant in every life, waiting for the moment of full surrender. That power is released when you stop holding back, when you stop negotiating with God, and when you fully commit to His plan. Every delay, every hesitation, every half-hearted response keeps your destiny out of reach. But the moment you say yes, without reservation, God begins to move in ways that cannot be explained by human logic. Opportunities that seemed impossible suddenly appear. Doors that were closed begin to open. Favor that seemed distant begins to flow effortlessly. Many people live their lives waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the right circumstances, or waiting until fear subsides. But the truth is, God's timing and His calling rarely wait for our comfort. Destiny requires action, surrendered, wholehearted, and immediate action. Saying yes completely is not always easy. It challenges your pride, your plans, and your preferences. It may require sacrifice, courage, and stepping into uncertainty. Yet it is this very act of surrender that triggers God's power and positions you for the extraordinary life He has prepared. Your yes is more than a word. It is a declaration of trust. It is saying, I believe your plan is greater than my fears. I believe your path is better than my plan. I trust you completely with my life. That kind of obedience produces momentum, and momentum produces movement. Once you take that step, you begin to experience alignment with God's purpose. And alignment always leads to acceleration. Your steps are no longer random, your decisions no longer uncertain, and your life no longer limited by human expectation. Saying yes completely also invites supernatural provision. God honors wholehearted commitment in ways that surpass human understanding. He positions you in the right places, connects you with the right people, and equips you with the right resources. Your life becomes a magnet for breakthroughs, divine favor, and opportunities that match your God-given purpose. Every delayed dream, every stalled vision, every unanswered prayer finds momentum through the power of total surrender. This is the moment where faith meets action, where trust meets obedience, and where potential meets fulfillment. Destiny is not a distant concept. It is a reality waiting to be activated the instant you choose to obey fully. Now, I want you to hear me clearly. The secret power of your life is not in your plans, your talent, or even your effort. The secret power is in obedience, total, unwavering, wholehearted obedience to God. Every step you take in faith, every decision to trust beyond understanding, every moment you act in surrender positions you for breakthroughs, favor, and destiny. Your yes unlocks doors that no human hand can open. Your faith releases power that no circumstance can contain. God is calling you to stop negotiating, stop hesitating, and stop holding back. He is asking for your full surrender, your complete trust, and your total obedience. It is in that obedience that your miracles will come, your purpose will unfold, and your destiny will be realized. Nothing can stand against the life of a person fully yielded to God. So today, choose obedience. Say yes with no reservations, no half measures. Step out in faith, act with courage, and trust His plan even when it doesn't make sense. The moment you obey fully, your life will never be the same again. Favor will follow, doors will open, and your destiny, your true God-given destiny, will begin to manifest before your eyes. Obedience is the secret. Obedience is the power. Obedience is your key. It's time to unlock it and step into the extraordinary life God has prepared for you.